Morning everyone and welcome to the Yorkshire Dales National Park. Today we are up in the north section of the National Park, going to be exploring High Force and Low Force, which are possibly two of the most powerful waterfalls in England. High Force, I would say, is the most powerful when you kind of include volume by height. But to start off with, we are near the visitor centre, going to a smaller waterfall called Summerhill Force, which is like a little side creek that runs into the River Tees, where High and Low Force are both located. 600 metre walk to Summerhill Force, which is quite a small waterfall, but sort of the tacked on bonus to the day. And then we'll explore further to the big waterfalls. So it's just a nice little trail here. Follows along the creek. It's been very dry for the last month, but there's still a bit of water in it, which is good. Down there and then upstream. Kind of seem to be two trails. That one over there heads into some sort of quarry, where the one here crosses the creek and heads upstream. Might be possible to just walk as a loop and come back on the other side, so I'm not sure about that. But yeah, it's a 600 metre walk to Summerhill Force and then 600 metres again the other direction to Low Force. You can keep going to High Force along the North Pennines Way trail, but it's another 3 miles, so we'll just be driving. You can drive much closer to it. And there's a whole dedicated car park and everything further up. It seems to be maybe the rougher side of the trail. So, turns out you have to go on the quarry side because the trail just ends there, but it's easy enough to walk across the creek. And you find a little mini waterfall just in there, unfortunately kind of obscured by branches. And then the trail continues along upstream up these stairs. So something worth noting, as we found out the hard way, if you put Summerhill Force into Apple Maps, I'm not sure about the other mapping systems, but it takes you up some crappy little narrow country lane and then tells you to turn right onto what actually is someone's driveway and is obviously a private road that you can't go down. So you don't want to put in Summerhill Force, you want to put in the visitor centre. I can't remember the name, but I'll put it on the video here, because that's where the car parking is for Summerhill Force and then for Low Force, and obviously High Force as well if you want to do a longer walk. But just don't put Summerhill Force directly into your maps because it takes you off a stupid direction. First, you upstream to Summerhill Force. Very pretty spot. Imagine these step cascades with a bit more water would be really wide and impressive. But even in a dry period, it's still not a bad flow. Pretty little spot. Would obviously be nicer in full flow. You can see that lip is quite wide, so you can imagine this being a really extensive waterfall. But the overhang is still really cool. The overhang is Gibson's Cave, and allegedly some old thief camped out under there hiding in like the 16th century is what the sign here says. How true that story is, I'm not sure, but it's a good story. Also quite sunny out, so photography is going to be difficult, but we'll see how we go. Might see if I can get something interesting like from inside the cave. If not, play around a bit with this pool in front, but see what we can turn out. So, Back at the car park, 600 metres this way to Low Force via the visitor centre, I believe. So we've just come through the Bowleys Visitor Centre there in that nice old church building. They're very helpful, gave us some nice maps, told us where to go. Follow down this little lane now. We'll be out at the main road and then across the road and down to the river where Low Force is. Through into the fields. Pretty cool spot down here. You've got the suspension bridge over the river, and we follow up. It's only a 5-minute walk. Follow up towards the waterfall. Making quite a racket. Here it is, Low Force. I think for me this is probably the money shot of the waterfall with this lower cascade into the main falls. It's hard from the front on there because you kind of, that bit of waterfall to the right there, it's hard to sort of get in the same shot. But it is probably the most complete picture, and I really like you get the sort of effect of the river running down and sort of around in this little bend here, plus these little bits of green with the trees, and also nice having a bit of context behind with the hill. So it's quite nice depth to the photo, I feel. I'm going to play around with I've got an ND filter, so play around with some longer exposures than usual. See how it turns out. Alright, so we're now at High Force with a really pretty High Force hotel behind there. We've paid our £3 each plus £3 for parking to use the trail, which is a little steep, but it is a nicely manicured area and a really nice hotel. About a mile return walk, I believe, to the falls. So yeah, check it out. As I mentioned before, I reckon this probably has a fair claim on being the most powerful waterfall in England. Definitely the ones I've seen, because it's a serious river down there, even after a month without rain. And it's just a 21 metre, I believe, high plunge fall through a big notch in the cliff. So looking forward to it, to be honest. Gently downhill trail, pretty cruisy walk, to be honest. It's an idyllic trail, really, very well maintained. There's bins along the way, and it's a gorgeous little forest. Entering somewhat of a gorge now. You've got some steeper sides here and across the river. Well, short walk, maybe no more than 10 minutes, managed the really impressive High Force. Just a spectacular gorge and a really powerful waterfall that comes sort of crashing through it. 21 metres high according to the sign, which I would definitely believe. It's an awesome spot here. I'll give you a look around. Only downside is the light's not great. You're kind of in that half shadow there. But we'll see what I can come up with in terms of photos, even in the poor light. I think I probably found the money shot here, getting around to straight in front of the waterfall, and then the powerful river in the foreground. Reminds you quite a lot actually of Hartnett Falls on the overland track back in Tassie. Probably not quite as tall, but just as powerful, and it's just that narrow sort of notch in the cliff where the water is funneled through. Very impressive. Well, approaching the end of the walk now. It's a really gorgeous area here in the sort of northern section of Yorkshire Dales. The two falls on the River Tees, High and Low Force, both spectacular, especially High Force. I mean, that would have to be in the top 3 or 4 waterfalls in the country. Summerhill Force as well was really nice, a bit on the dry side, but if you came after rain, I reckon that'd be very impressive as well. And yeah, really great area to explore. You give yourself a whole day and go up the North Pennines Trail, so you didn't have to pay for a start, and then you get a bit more of a longer experience. A bit further upstream is another waterfall that comes into the River Tees on a side creek, which we obviously didn't do, but that's a bit more of a walk. So you could spend a whole day here realistically. There's so much to see and it's a gorgeous area. But yeah, just a bit of a taster for us today. Hope you enjoyed seeing 3 nice little waterfalls around here, and I'll see you next time.